You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the number one horse podcast in the world. Here is your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
I am Glenn the Geek from Ocala, Florida.
And I am Allison Rehnborg in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and you are listening to the monthly Equine Affaire episode of Horses in the Morning on the Horse Radio Network for February 20th. This episode is brought to you by Equine Affaire. Good morning, Horse World.
It's the third Thursday of the month. That means it's time for the Equine Affaire episode, North America's premier equine expo and equestrian gathering.
Well, Allison, welcome back to the show. I know you only have a couple months to Equine Affaire in Ohio, and I'll get to see you out there and hang out with you. But what's coming up on today's show?
Yes, so today we have some great people coming up I'm really excited about. But before I get into that, I will acknowledge, yes, I am sick again. No, I am not always sick, people.
I know had a whole winter of sickness.
I know. The auditors were like, what is wrong with her? All I can say is I have a 3-year-old, but I will say I was completely healthy all of January.
Oh, good. You got a break.
I got a break, and this one's very minor. I hardly feel like mentioning it, except that you can hear me.
Yeah, you can hear it. But then half the country's sick right now. So I mean,
they really are. Schools are closing in Tennessee because of illness. It's just the season, I guess. It is the time, and, you know, we're all coming off of Christmas and eating crap that we shouldn't have, and I guess it just takes this long to detox. I don't know.
Well, I hope you feel better by April, because that would be bad. So,
oh, please, please, for the love of everything, I have to feel better by April. Usually I get sick before the event, and then I get well enough to go to the event, and then I get sick after the event. So, because, you know, it's not like the event is conducive to being well. But anyway, I promise auditors, I am not dying of pernicious anemia or whatever. I just need to move to the beach for my health. I just need the air, you know. But today's show, we have a couple of great interviews. First up, we have Marcie Quist, and she is pretty cool. Marcie is a woman of many talents. She's a lawyer and a writer and a horsewoman, and most importantly, she's an expert driver. So she and Glenn are going to get to chat about his favorite subject. And then our next interview, which I'm super excited about, is Kim Elger, and she is the COO of Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue. And as our listeners know, they are the ones that are helping us put on the Donkey Extravaganza at Equine Affaire in April. So we're going to talk about driving and donkeys today.
Well, that's good, because we've had a couple listeners ask about donkeys and, you know, whether it's good to get them or not. And I'd love to talk to her about who should own a donkey and who shouldn't, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people think about donkeys for protection or for companionship, and they don't realize that donkeys are different, you know? So, so we need to chat with her about that too.
Well, and there's so many donkeys. I feel like people have this impression, and I hope Kim can talk about this, that you get a donkey, you throw him out in the pasture, and you don't have to worry about him. And that's not true. But I can't tell you the number of donkeys I've seen in the South. Particularly, I'll be driving by, and I'll go, man, that donkey is obese, or man, that donkey could use some, you know, some loving. They're horses. They're just not horses, I think.
Well, and they're so easy keepers. We'll talk to her about that.
Yes.
That the laminitis and all that stuff. You
all
have
that
to worry
stuff
about with the donkey, and people don't realize that. They think they're just hardy, but they're used to eating, you know, scrub in the desert. I mean, that's what they were bred to do. So they can live on air, basically.
It's like the Shetland pony.
Yeah, or like my fat hackney.
Oh, poor Scooter. Slandered on the air every day.
I know you're taking applications for a couple of different things that are happening, or are they closed now?
Those are closed now. When this episode airs, they will be closed. So the waiting begins to find out if you're selected for Ride with a Pro or the Breed Bonanza or the VHRC. And don't ask me when those notifications go out, because I don't always know, but I do know that you will be notified at least by mid-March for Ride with a Pro, and probably a little bit earlier for the other two. So if you applied, good luck, and we're excited to see you there, hopefully, and you will find out in plenty of time to make your travel arrangements. So, yeah. Hang in there.
And now there's also a rumor going around that you guys are canceling. You're not going to do it in Ohio because of the Ohio Expo Center being under construction. And we're here to tell you that we're going. So, we're going to be there. Yeah, and everybody else will be there too. And if you're not going because you heard the rumor, you heard a rumor. It's a rumor.
You heard a rumor, and rumors are false. I will say this, the Ohio Expo Center is under construction. It is part of their 2050 Master Expo plan where they're updating the fairgrounds.
They're going to take 25 years to fix it?
Yes.
That's what I heard.
Well, it's already been, if you guys came last year, you noticed that some buildings had disappeared and that we had some piles of rubble around. And it was, everything was pretty much the same in terms of our event. You just happen to have different scenery. And this year, we will have a few different buildings that we're utilizing. Traffic flows will be different for pedestrians, for cars, for horses. But everything is still happening exactly the way it was before. We're just using a different part of the fairgrounds. And we will be posting those updates on our social media. You'll see it on our maps. You'll hear all about it. It will not come as a surprise, especially if you're listening to the show. So just bear in mind, everything's going to look a little bit different, but everything you know and love is going to be there. Plus all our new stuff like the Donkey Extravaganza and the Breed Bonanza. Just be prepared to deal with a little bit of dust, construction dust. But that's not us. That's the Ohio Expo Center. But we are definitely putting on a big event. It's going to be a great one. We are working really, really hard already in the office. We're like ducks, floating on the water, but our feet are going like crazy. So it's going to be a good one.
And, of course, you're going to have Tick Maynard there, Julie Goodnight there, Cole Cameron there, Luke Gingrich is going to be there, Barbara Schulte. I mean, all the names that everybody knows. Steve Landvit is going to be there. So you have a whole bunch of – and you're going to be doing some different things, too, with clinicians, too. So that's kind of fun.
Yes. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Steve is coming back to do more Cowtown. We're very excited about that. Julie is also going to do some cow work, which is exciting and a little different for her. But the other thing about Steve is I'm just going to drop this little bombshell. Steve is working cattle in Cowtown, and then we're also doing a little special Cowtown act in Fantasia this year. So if you enjoy watching people work cows, we're going to have some bovines in Fantasia, and I think it's going to be really, really fun. So if you haven't gotten your tickets yet for Equine Affaire and Fantasia, you might want to grab those because we've got some cool surprises up our sleeves for Fantasia. It's going to be unique.
You know who has the most fun, though, of all the people I've seen go through, and you know who I'm going to talk about, of all the people I've seen there, the one who has the most fun are the drill team girls. I see you have the Canadian Cowgirls there, the drill team. They're just walking around the trade show, having a blast, laughing. They just have so much fun going to this thing. They really do.
They have a great time. Yeah, we love the Canadian Cowgirls. They do an awesome job. And then, they have a great time. And they make you have a great time.
Yes.
And they also have light-up cowboy hats and light-up costumes. I mean, how much cooler can you get? It's a little bit of Vegas in the ring, right? The Canadian Vegas.
And one of my friends, too, that's been on the show many times, if you're a Mustang person, Mary Miller Jordan's going to be there. And, representing the Mustang world. So she's perfect to do that. And she, as I said, she's been on our shows many times and I know her and I'm excited she's going to be there.
Yeah, she did a great job for us in Massachusetts. And she's going to do work some more magic in Ohio. And she's very popular. Everybody loves her. Yep. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good event. I feel good about this one. The construction is not fun, but I live in Nashville. Everything's under construction here. Guys, you just learn to deal.
Yep.
It's fine.
It's fine. It'll be good. All right, very good. Well, we're going to get on with our first guest today. We have Marcie Quist. She is a woman of many talents, a lawyer, a writer, a horsewoman, an expert driver, and she's going to present at Equine Affaire as our driving clinician on Saturday and Sunday. She's had many years competing. She's a combined driving official in the U.S. and Europe. She's a judge, a technical delegate, and a steward. She does it all. And she's also served as a USEF chef to keep for four-in-hands, pairs, and para drivers. So let's chat with Marcie. Well, hi, Marcie. Thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Marcie was a guest on our driving radio show probably 10, 12 years ago, a long time ago. So it's good to talk to you again. Now, you're going to be doing some clinics up at Equine Affaire. What are you doing?
Well, I'm kind of doing a cornucopia of driving things to try to get people interested in what they are actually doing in their driving, and or for new people who might be interested in joining us in driving.
And, that has been an issue we've talked a lot about in all the different disciplines and all the different breeds is new people getting into driving. But I think driving was even one of the most challenging with getting young people involved because the drivers were aging out.
Oh, it's a huge problem for us. And, there's two things that you need in order to get into driving. One is the knowledge yourself and then a safe driving horse. And both of those are very difficult to get because the drivers are aging out, and it's such a small sport, there just isn't that available. I mean, you can go learn to ride at any riding stable in your neighborhood, but in order to learn to drive, you have to go to specific places in the U.S., and it's not available everywhere.
And also to mention that you need a vehicle that can haul the horses and the carriage, which adds a whole new dimension to it. We end up having to take two when I take my cart out because we don't have a trailer big enough for the cart and the horses, So,
yeah, absolutely. And you have to make friends because it's only safe to drive with others.
Right.
And so you also kind of need somebody to go with you in case of an emergency.
People right out of driving, Marcie.
But you get to make a lot of cool friends.
Well, and it is so much fun. I mean, that's the other thing.
It's social.
I started out in Lancaster County when I met my wife. I didn't like riding, so I took up driving, right? I didn't know anything. And there was a carriage club there, and we had a great time going on drives with the carriage club. And we did that for years. Every month we'd go on a different drive. So driving is much more of a social thing. And it's one of the things I liked about driving.
Oh, I agree. Driving is very social. It doesn't have that same feel, even at the competitions, of being a competitive sport. It is for us personally, like I do a lot of combined driving, and that's very challenging, but it's not against the other people. It's more against yourself and the obstacles that are put in front of you. And so it makes it a lot of camaraderie, a lot of social, because there's lots of people and everybody's involved. So it's fun for that reason.
So if you have somebody listening to this right now that's interested in driving, but they don't know what to do to get started, what do you tell them?
Well, we all need help, and we all need somebody to go driving with us. So the most important way to get started, and we've done this in our own community as well, is to find people who are interested in driving to have them come along with us. And a lot of them, we let them take up the reins and drive as well. But, just riding on the carriage teaches you a lot. It gets you interactive. It teaches you what the sport is like, and what you can do with driving and such. So the first and foremost is to find somebody who's driving who would like to have somebody go with them. After that, they can then hook you up with someone who could teach you how to drive and or find a suitable driving horse for you.
And you recommend that for new people. We have this saying on the show, green on green makes black and blue.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I assume that applies to driving, too. I assume if you're brand new, it's better to buy a horse that's already driving than to teach one yourself.
Oh, absolutely. And everyone will tell you the story of the one horse they had. I too, have had that horse that drove in, 2 easy lessons or whatever else. But it doesn't always happen that way. And we don't have as many accidents, but when we do have them, they're a little more spectacular because of the fact that the carriage is involved as well. And it's more frightening to the horses. So yes, absolutely need to find a broke horse. Kind of two different options there. One of them is standardbreds. They're all broke to drive, and they're lovely, lovely personality animals. So that's a good choice sometimes for people. And then the other one is the Amish horses. A lot of those Amish horses are very well broke to drive, and again, can give somebody continued, enjoyment without having to have a lot of risk.
I lived in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, so my first driving pony, which is still my heart horse, Piper, lived to over 40, by the way. It was a Amish driving pony, and we bought her at the New Holland auction for $90. And she taught me to drive. You're going to love this, Marcie. Every time I did something, because I didn't know, every time I did something wrong, the pony would throw its head until I did it right, and then she'd stop throwing her head. And that's how I learned to drive. The pony taught me.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that every single one you get out of the auction is
Right.
good.
No, I got lucky.
but again, it's a place to find broke, safe driving animals to get started if you're interested.
Yeah, I don't
in driving.
recommend the auction, to be honest. My wife was a very experienced eventer, so she got it, and she had driven before, so I had some help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you always need somebody who will help you.
I would have been terrified if the first pony I had didn't know how to drive. I would have been terrified. So in this clinic that you're going to do for the new people, what are you gonna show?
So what I like to do is I like to show people how to start and kind of evaluate their horse for driving. One very cool thing about driving is that we use every breed of horse and pony. I mean, even today, in the most high levels, you do not see the same animal time after time. Like if you look at dressage, all those animals tend to look alike. If you look at eventing, a lot of those animals tend to look alike. If you look at driving, every single one of them is a different kind of animal that goes a different way. And so there's a lot of opportunity. So for that reason, what I'm trying to encourage people to do is they can look at home and say, oh, I have this nice riding horse, or I have this nice jumping horse. My first horse was an eventing horse who was a thoroughbred stallion who, again, took to driving because he was totally broke and said, carriage, fine, whatever. So I want them to give them some skills to kind of train their horse, to start to train their horse, to do some ground driving, to do things that would introduce the horse to driving, to see if the horse is suitable. Of course, from then, before they get to the carriage, I want them to get professional help. But there's a lot you can do prior to that time, teaching them to stand, for instance, which is the ultimate important thing for driving horses to do. They can do all of that at home and interact with their horses and have a lot of fun as well.
It is funny that you say about teaching them to stand, because you're absolutely right. Because any place you go driving, standing is one of the most difficult things for the horse, especially if there's a lot going on. And it is the most important thing to teach. And we've all seen horses get in trouble that weren't good standers.
Oh, absolutely. At home, we teach these same clinics via our driving club. And when I had one, I just brought one of my horses in, took the halter off and put it in the middle of the barn and told everybody, this is the standard upon which they have to go. And I said, it isn't always going to stay there forever. It did stay there for about the 2 hours that we were there talking about the horse. But you need to get them to the point where you can trust them enough that you think that they will stay there, and also make sure that you keep them, safe otherwise.
Yeah, because, we were in a couple parades too, and that's just a lot of standing. It's because the parade
and
stops
scariness.
and stops and stops, and then you got 12 carriages just standing there, with at least one horse always bouncing off the walls. There's just always one, and you just hope it's not yours.
Right. It's an overstimulation situation. So, yes. So that's why they have to have those basic manners that are so super important to a driving horse, much more than even a riding horse. And those you can all do on the ground and do yourself and have some fun with your horse.
So if you were to say, okay, somebody's been a good rider for years and they want to get into driving and they're going to get a new horse to do it. I know all breeds do it, but is there one that you recommend that's kind of the steady Eddie?
No, I really it depends on the individuals. I have had Hackney horses for most of my career, and they have been wonderful horses because they have been bred to be driving horses. So as a group, they're very tolerant of driving. But again, they're kind of the border collies of the driving world. So they're very hot and forward and everything else. So they're not necessarily a good starting. Yeah, well, they know the answers. Yep. So it's not really opinionated. It's just they have the answers before you do.
That's true. I never heard it put that way. I've had Hackney ponies too. I still have one. And
correct. And they're the same way.
Yep, they're the same way.
Yeah. But they also tend to have a lot of self-preservation, which is what you want in a driving horse. And this is the kind of things that we talk about at Equine Affaire, is to make sure that you have a horse that makes good life choices, because that is so important when you are in a difficult situation, like you say, that bouncing animal in the parade. Those horses have to make the right decision for everybody involved. And so there's ways to assess that, and I talked about that as well. And I always say, you're not going to be able to rehab something that has a brain problem or a not good decision-making problem, and you're not going to be able to physically rehab them either by putting them in driving. Those are just not suitable things for a driving horse.
And then the other session you're doing, which is for more people who have driven before, more advanced. What are you doing with that one?
Oh, I'm going to have some fun this time. We're going to do cones.
Okay.
And I will show them kind of my little secrets about cones. I wrote an article, Driving Digest, which I write for on a regular basis a couple of years ago, and talked about some of the things, but it's all about going forward. And so I'm going to show them ways to teach their horses to go forward in cones. It will be a life lesson for some people to understand that it really is all about the forward and the speed going forward to drive better cones. So that'll be an interesting one. And then I also do one on ringcraft, which is good for anybody who's doing dressage. Of course, I'm a judge all the way up to the FEI level now for combined driving and judge dressage, but also too, even for people who like to do pleasure showing, being able to handle where you are in the ring and what else is happening around the ring makes a big difference on how your scores come out. So I like to do that one as well.
And will you have your Hackney horses there?
No, they'll be in North Carolina. So when we do things at home, I always get to use them as demonstrators, but no, I'm not going to haul them to Ohio in April, especially.
Yeah, that's true. You never know what's going to happen weather-wise. Well, this sounds fascinating. I'm excited that you get to do this. I'm excited that you're bringing driving to people who may not have thought of it before, and because we need that. So I'm very glad you're going to be there for that reason. We need more drivers, and we need more people doing it. I happen to live, I don't think you know this, but I live in Steeplechase Farms, right outside of Ocala, which I see about 12 carriages go by a day. So, which Steeplechase Farms
that's a driving mecca.
It is carriage community.
It's one of them. Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of your competitors that you compete against drive by all day long.
Mm-hmm.
That and Aiken,
Well,
right? Aiken's the other place.
No, I'm in Southern Pines.
You're in Southern Pines.
But
Okay.
I'm in Southern Pines, also a driving mecca.
Yep.
And I don't compete much anymore. A little bit because of the conflicts, but a lot because I've gotten a little more mature. And so now I'm in a situation where I spend most of my time judging and officiating either in the U.S. or I get a lot of opportunity to go to Europe as well. So that's really been a wonderful experience for me.
And give a plug, too, if you're ever in Ocala for, I think in March, is when Live Oak is.
Live Oak.
Yep.
Yes.
If you're ever here, it's the largest driving competition in the country. It's right across the street from the World Equestrian Center, literally. And if you ever come in for that, it is absolutely beautiful place, Chester Weber's place, and it's just so much fun, especially cross country day. You have to come in and watch cross or marathon, they call it. Come in and watch marathon. It's just a treat. So
it's a fabulous place.
Definitely.
And just fabulous to be there. And the weather is always perfect. It's rained very seldom on marathon day there. And it's so worth it. We agree.
Marcie, where can people find you? Do you have a website or anything? Or
I do not.
Okay.
Because I do so much officiating, I've not done anything kind of commercial. I try to get back to the sport, not for commercial reasons, but rather just for fun and things of that nature. But you can read my articles in Driving Digest and, come see us at Equine Affaire.
And Allison, where can they find the schedule to see when Marcie's going to be doing her thing?
Absolutely. We've got the preliminary schedule up on equineaffaire.com. You just make sure you select the Ohio event, and then you can click on the schedule.
Thanks, Marcie.
Chewy is your one-stop horse shop, from feed and supplements to supplies, medications, and more, delivered straight to your barn. With fast, free shipping, I love that, on orders over $49, and the convenience of auto ship, you never have to worry about running out of the brands you trust and the products you need. You can count on Chewy to keep your barn stocked and your horse happy, which is the most important thing of all. Start shopping today at chewy.com/equine.
Well, I got to tell you, I live, as I mentioned, in a driving neighborhood. It's all, there's probably 100 farms in here, and they all have horses. And
Wow.
The box you see out on garbage day to be picked up the most is Chewy. You see Chewy boxes all over the neighborhood. And I know we get a few. I know Jennifer orders from Chewy, too. So we get a few. I know we get my pony feed from Chewy.
Well, and they ship hay.
Yeah.
Maybe you told me
did.
that.
Yeah, Jennifer bought hay there before.
I think that's wild.
It's the craziest thing.
Fantastic.
Comes in a box, by the way. It's the
Wow.
weirdest thing. I don't know why she did it, just to see, I think, whether it would work or not.
Just an experiment.
Yeah.
Well, I have a Chewy box on my porch. I can't remember who I got it from. Probably someone dog-loving, horse-loving person I know. And they're actually good. I'm always on the hunt. This is a thing they don't tell you about adulthood. You're always on the hunt for a good box.
That's true.
And it's a good box. I'm going to use it for donations or for books or whatever. You need a good cardboard box.
Well, they have to be tough. They hold a bale of hay. So
exactly. Yeah.
All right. Very good. Thanks to Chewy. It's chewy.com/equine. All right. Who's coming up next?
All right. Up next, our donkey interview. I know some of the auditors were asking about donkeys. So we are chatting with Kim Elger. She is the COO, that's Chief Operating Officer of Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue. A 501c3 nonprofit organization, Peaceful Valley is the world's leading donkey rescue organization and seeks to improve the plight of the American donkey. They have a nationwide network of ranch facilities and satellite adoption centers. We're excited to have Kim on the show to share about this organization and about these adorable long-eared critters. Well, hi, Kim. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Yay. We're happy to have you on because donkeys are a hot topic. They're a hot topic right now, especially in our listener group. And then, of course, with Equine Affaire and the Donkey Extravaganza coming up. And so I wanted to ask you, tell us a little bit about Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue first. How did that organization come about? How did you get involved? And what's your mission? What's your purpose there?
All right. So Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue was actually founded in 2000 by Mark and Amy Myers. They actually were searching for a companion for their horse that they had. And back in those days, before pre-internet mostly, or at least the internet wasn't super widely used yet, they looked in Craigslist and they found a donkey listed for sale on Craigslist. Her name was Izzy or Isabel, and they purchased her from the people on Craigslist. And then once they had a donkey, they started to realize it's like when you get a new car, you all of a sudden start seeing that car everywhere. Well, they suddenly started seeing donkeys, and especially donkeys in need, everywhere that they looked. So after a while, they had acquired about 25 donkeys that they took out of less than desirable conditions, and they had them in their backyard, and they looked at each other and they said, okay, something's got to give here. What are we going to do? We're either turning into hoarders or we have to make this, really take a serious dive into this. So they sold both of their construction companies and they created Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue. They went full speed ahead
into the
commitment. Rescue business.
Yes. Wow.
And so that was a little over 24 years ago. And at this point, Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue has grown to be the largest equine rescue in the world. So at any given moment, we have about 4,000 donkeys in our direct care.
What?
And yes, it's insane. I know. Yeah. But we have 3 regional headquarters, one in Virginia, Arizona, and then, of course, our corporate headquarters in Texas is our largest facility, where we house about 1,000 donkeys. But also, on top of our regional headquarters, we have a sanctuary program, and that is comprised of close to 30 sanctuary locations that are just ranches between Texas and Oklahoma, where the ranchers no longer run cattle or they just have extra space. So they allow us to let the donkeys go out to sanctuary, just graze and do donkey things. And that's specifically and most beneficial for our donkeys that come from our wild captures or domestic rescues where they've just completely lost trust in people. They still have a sense of freedom out on sanctuary, but they still also are able to receive the same medical care, farrier care, dental care as our other donkeys. Peaceful Valley has grown exponentially over the last couple of years. Our mission, obviously, is to be the voice for the voiceless and also find every donkey that we have in our care an appropriate home and a safe and happy life.
Okay, before Allison, I have to jump in here. Kim, we live at a place where there's all horse farms and there's donkeys around, and several times a day, they all, no matter what farm they're on, they all start braying at the same time. So with the 1,000 donkeys together, do they all bray at the same time?
Luckily for us, no, they don't.
That would be loud.
They would blow out our eardrums. Yeah, no, they're really specific about the times that they make noise, and they recognize our tractor and they recognize our gator and some of our farm equipment as the food trucks. So that's usually when they get the loudest. When
oh my God!
Truck coming.
You've been hearing for 12 miles away.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I'm just So, Glenn, you and I were talking before this interview about the plight of the donkey, and we were right on the money, but I don't think either of us really realized how big of a problem it apparently is. That's pretty wild. Are there more donkeys? Like, is it a regional issue? Or are there donkeys in need all over the U.S., like every state?
Unfortunately, there are donkeys in need all over the United States. And the way that we acquire our donkeys are about half from our Wildboro project, where we capture donkeys out on public and private lands where they are not federally protected by the Bureau of Land Management. Donkeys don't know where federal land starts and stops, so they sometimes wander into predicaments and places where they're not necessarily welcome. So we have contracts with a lot of people to capture those donkeys to save them from the threat of destruction. The other part of our rescue is domestic rescues, and these donkeys are in abused, neglect, and abandoned situations where we come in and take them and hopefully get them back healthy and are able to provide them with a safe environment for the remainder of their lives. But it's everywhere. And I think, and what I test that to is just, unfortunately, it's a lack of knowledge amongst the masses that donkeys are not horses. They're not the same. They have specific needs. But also, people don't place the value on donkeys that they do horses. Donkeys typically these days are brought in homes as pets, and people don't always see the value and the companionship that the donkeys have, that they offer. And a lot of times donkeys are overlooked when it comes to training and veterinary care, so they can become a nuisance or an expense that people don't want to put money into. They don't see it as a valuable animal that's not contributing to them anyway. It's just a mouth to feed, and that's really unfortunate. And it happens everywhere, all over the world, actually, not just the United States. Right.
As I said so intelligently earlier on the show, they're like they're horses, but they're not horses in a way that, like, you know, it's still a living, breathing animal with needs and unique needs. You know, they need their feet done. I assume they need grooming. They need care. They need the right kind of feed to avoid obesity and to avoid laminitis and that sort of thing. Do you think that is sort of the number one reason why you guys find donkeys in need, is people just kind of throw them in and assume, oh, they're just part of the landscape, they don't need much?
Yes, unfortunately, there is a lot of misnomers out there that donkeys don't need vet care. Donkeys don't need their feet done. Donkeys are hardy. You know, you just throw it out in a pasture and it'll be fine. It's a low maintenance animal. When in fact, the reality is, you know, they have the same healthcare needs that horses and any other equine have. They do need a farrier, especially once we bring them into a domestic situation. But whereas out in the wild, you know, they're walking around miles and miles a day looking for resources, and they're wearing their hooves down. That's why they don't need them done in the wild, because they have that ample space to move about. But if we bring them into a domestic situation, you know, we're artificially reducing the amount of space and the way that they can move. So yeah, we have to provide them farrier care. They do need dental work. They do need to see a vet. And then and hand in hand with all of that, they do need training so that they're handleable for farriers and veterinarians, so that all these things can be done for them. And that's not an eliminating factor as to why a donkey is going to receive the proper care that it needs.
Do you recommend that they have donkey friends as opposed to just horse friends?
Actually, yes, and we have found with Peaceful Valley in our adoption program that donkeys generally prefer the company of other donkeys. If you have a donkey in a pen with a horse and a donkey, the donkey is going to prefer to be with the other donkey. They are herd animals, and it's always best to have at least a pair, especially any kind of equine, especially a pair. But of course, you know, this is not me pushing adoptions on everybody, but I think groups of 5 are like the absolute ideal situation for donkeys.
they're even more like potato chips than horses. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. You cannot have just one. You need at least almost a 6-pack for sure.
It sounds so obvious what we're talking about, that of course it's a living animal that needs all this care and needs handling and needs training and needs all these things. And so why is it that we as horse people just tend to, you know, go, oh, well, it's a donkey? I mean, it's another it is a horse, but not a horse. It is a equine, and that's part of what, when I'm writing about the Donkey Extravaganza, I go, it's Equine Affaire. That doesn't just mean horses. That means donkeys too.
Right.
And so I'm really fascinated by, I want to see the reaction to Donkey Extravaganza at Equine Affaire. I'm really excited about it because I think that this is going to be a really neat way to open some eyes to what donkeys need. So can you talk a little bit about the event that we're going to be putting on and what that's going to look like and what you guys are hoping the result is?
Absolutely. We are thrilled for the opportunity to be having a Donkey Extravaganza within Equine Affaire. It's going to be an entire just building of nothing but the long ears. So if people are donkey lovers or just curious about donkeys, want to learn more, it's going to be an incredible opportunity for them to get hands-on with the donkeys. We will actually have some of our adoptable donkeys there. And if somebody is interested in adopting a donkey, you can get ahead of the line and go through the application process at donkeyadoption.org and maybe even be able to take some of those donkeys home with you
You
from
need
the
5
Donkey
at least.
Extravaganza. Yeah, at least 5. Okay, I think we're going to bring about a dozen, so that's 2 people.
Yeah.
But also, what I'm really, really excited about is that we're going to have an education ring that's going to be filled with experts from Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue and also some of our other experts that we've kind of made friends with. All kinds of educational presentations. I think I want to say like 34 between Thursday and Sunday on various topics like donkey psychology, nutritional needs, donkey first aid, donkey welfare issues that are impacting just donkeys globally, what the best types of hay, donkeys and colic, because donkeys react differently to pain and sickness than horses do typically. We're going to have Chrissy Johnson. She's an equine dentist. She'll be doing actual dentals while we're there so people can sit and watch the process. Managing Cushing's disease in donkeys, keeping donkeys with other livestock. There's just so much. So it's going to be an incredible opportunity if people have a minute to stop by the Donkey Extravaganza, for the education part of it, but also we're going to have our gift shop set up. So we're going to have cool donkey merch that people can buy. Megan Hensley, she's known as the Donkey Farrier. She has holistic hooves. She's going to be there doing demonstrations for us. We're going to have a kids corner that's going to have crafts and coloring pages, all kinds of fun stuff for people to do. That's all about the long ears.
Fabulous. That sounds like the best time ever. Like maybe I'll just find an excuse to be over there the whole weekend. And can I cuddle a donkey?
Absolutely. We're going to have, like I said, we'll have some of our adoptable donkeys actually there for people to get hands-on. They'll be participating in the demonstrations for us. And we'll have a pen where you can come up and love on the donkeys and hug them. And it's going to be up close and personal with donkeys all week.
So,
Glenn,
yes,
I think the podcast booth needs to be over there.
I think we just need to have a donkey in the podcast booth. I think that.
We can arrange that.
Let's leave listeners with this: who should own a donkey and who should not? If you were going to give the Reader's Digest pitch on that, what would you say?
Well, for specifically a Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue, what we look for in our adopters is we want somebody, number one, that wants a pet. Somebody who wants a new family member. It's just like buying a new puppy or bringing another horse into your life. We want people who are excited about it. We want people who are going to be social with the donkeys. Part of our training program is actually socializing the donkeys so that they're seeking attention and seeking time and companionship with people and their families. We don't want anyone to have to chase a donkey around the pasture when a vet or farrier shows up. So it's a really important part. And it's also very equally as important that once a donkey is brought into a home that you continue to socialize with them. So we look for that. We also look for people who are going to be open-minded and understand the differences between donkeys and horses. They have different nutritional needs. Donkeys can get obese really quickly. So there might be dry lot involved, and they're not going to be able to be out at pasture as long as a horse would be. Really, we want people who understand that donkeys are extremely lovable. They're extremely friendly, and again, they're social. I always call them man's other best friend. Mm-hmm. And I wish that more people knew that, because they will, once you earn their trust, they will be right by your side. They will call for you when they see you. They'll start calling for you when your car pulls up in the driveway. Oh. They're excited to see their people, and they just want to love and be loved. And, I want everybody to know that. But yeah, we're just looking for people who want to bring an additional pet home and give them a good life and take care of them, and understand that these are precious animals that deserve, compassionate homes that are going to do everything they can in their best interest.
Absolutely. I love that. So, all right. So if you're interested, if you fit that criteria, listeners, and you want to learn more about donkeys, or maybe adopt 1 or 5, Glenn, I think you need some, then you should come to Equine Affaire in April. Come to the Donkey Extravaganza. They will be in the Voinovich building, which is one of our buildings that we use regularly at Equine Affaire. And well, thank you, Kim, for coming on the show. How can people learn more about Peaceful Valley? Where are you guys on the web?
We're at www.donkeyrescue.org. That is our main page, and from our main website you can get to all of our other links. We have education links, we have gift shop links, we have adoption links, rescue case forums. So everything that you need from Peaceful Valley is going to be on that site.
Perfect. And it is a great site. I've been already perusing it a lot this spring, and it's very user-friendly. So you can find out everything you need to know about Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue, either by going online to donkeyrescue.org or by coming to Equine Affaire. So thank you, Kim, for coming on to share about these awesome creatures. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having us, and I can't wait to see everybody.
Well, do you want free admission to Equine Affaire? We know a way. Volunteer at Equine Affaire. Taking early applications up until February 24th, so you've got a few more days, only a few, to apply by visiting equineaffaire.com. Why sign up early? Signing up to volunteer early means you're more likely to get your first choice of your preferred volunteer schedule, but you can volunteer at any time. If you want to wait, you can come to the event and ask for directions to the volunteer office. Volunteers can get free admission just by working 1 2-hour shift. Work 8 hours or more, and you get a 4-day pass and a souvenir. And the volunteers are always so important to running an event like this. Visit equineaffaire.com to find out more about volunteering. Well, that's it for this month. As I said, we only have one more? March?
Yes, one more.
When is the event in April again?
It is April 10th through the 13th. And man, I feel like it's coming up faster than usual.
It is. Because I'm going, oh, wow, that's like 6 weeks away or something.
Yeah, so it's basically a little more than 60 days from the day we're recording. But then by the time this episode airs, it's going to be much closer. And I'm really kind of like stressing a little bit. Maybe that's why I'm sick. That's why I'm sick.
You can learn all you want to know about Equine Affaire at equineaffaire.com, or the Facebook page, or the YouTube channel. You can follow Horses in the Morning on Facebook. Just search for Horses in the Morning. And Equine Affaire has their own feed. It's the Equine Affaire podcast. If you want to listen to all the past episodes of the Equine Affaire podcast without being cluttered up with Horses in the Morning's rest of our shows, then you can just search your podcast player for Equine Affaire. It pops up, and you can listen to just the Equine Affaire episodes. That's completely up to you.
From all my stalkers out there who just love me.
That's right.
They just want to.
All right, until next month.
We will see you at Equine Affaire.